All right, everybody. So here we got the third question, which says to observe the customer behavior after a couple of transactions, fetch the third transaction for each of the customer. So it's the credit. In this question, we are going to have the credit card transactional data that will be for 1 month, and in that data you would have multiple entries for each of the customer, because whenever a customer does a transaction, there will be an entry created in the data set. Let me show you a sample of this data. So here is how the data looks like. Okay, so you see tran is the data frame that we have, and in that we have 1000 records and 80 variables, right? 1000 rows and 18 variables. The data looks like this. In this 1000 record, you might have multiple entries for each of the customer. For example, if you see Megan Megan has a transaction on 26th of June, and then he or she has another transaction on 21st of June, right? So you see this data is unsorted, but all that I wanted you to understand is in this data for each of the customer there are multiple entries, and this data is for June. Now here I explained you the data. Now let me try to help you understand the question first, and for that I will take a sample of this data. I have taken a sample of this data which looks something like this. Now if you observe over here, there are 3 customers into this data frame, right? And this is their transaction date. So for example, if you see Christiana, right? So 1 2 3 4 and 5 transactions we have for Christiana. And what we need to do is we need to pick the third transaction which we did. First transactions we did on 1st June, then 2nd June it comes, and then 4th, 5th, and then 10th. But you see this is not arranged. How would you pick that? So for that, first thing which you need to do is first sort this data. To sort the data, what you can do is you can sort this data on the both of these. You don't have to worry how to do in Excel, right? Now here I am just trying to help you understand the problem statement. Now once the data is sorted, what we need to do is we need to identify these transactions. If you see, these are the third transaction. If you are getting a question, why do we need to do this, why the company would like to do, so company does this for multiple purposes, specifically for the behavior analysis. That could be for the purpose of fraud detection, that could be for the purpose of risk assessment, for marketing campaign, etc. Okay, but here let's focus on picking up the third transaction, right? So now once you are done with sorting the data, all that you need to do is just create a counter, right? And when the customer name changes, again your counter starts from 1. Then say this as well. Okay, so for this also 5 transactions, for this there are just 4 transactions, so this has to be 4. Okay, now once you have this variable created, all that you require to do is go in this filter and pick for the third. So here you got that third transaction for each of the customer. Now let's try to do this in pandas. So here is the data that we have. First thing which we need to do is sort values by, I said by customer name. Here I'm just going to put that, and then tran date. Okay, here is what we have. So the data is sorted. Now next thing which we need to do is need to create the counter variable. So for that, what I will do is I'll create another variable into this in the same data frame, and I will give a name to that variable as counter. And over here what I need to do is I need to use group by function. All right, group by. If you want to understand how this is working over here, I can explain you, but in another video. Here let's just focus on how to do this. Okay, group by, what is the variable by which we want to create the counter? By customer name, right? So over here I'm just going to say customer name. All right, I'll just take this, and over here you need to just call this function which is called cum count. Cum means cumulative and count means count, right? So this will create a cumulative count variable. Okay, now let's just see the top 5 records, top 5 records of this data. Here is what we get. Now if you scroll right, here you see the counter. Now if you're seeing 43, 25 and something like that, don't worry about it, because see it has pandas understand how where to give what counter, but here you're just not seeing that. To help you understand well, let me sort this data once again. Let me have this data over here, and over here I will use counter. And now if you see, this is Aaron Wanger, and if you see over here, this is the counter which has been created. 0 1 2 3 4 47, because all the rows we can see, right? So that's how it is looking like this. Now the next problem statement which we had is filter for third transaction, right? So what we're gonna do is tran in, and then we're gonna subset it tran, and over here we're gonna say counter, and over here we can say just 2. Why 2? Because pandas does the indexing from starting from 0. So when you say 0 1 2, 2 is third actually for you, right? So here is what you got. All right, so this is a very interesting problem statement you usually get in your job, right, to do this, right? So here you learned couple of things. First, how to group by the data, then how to sort the data, how to create a counter variable, how to do the filter in data. So just in case if you don't want to do anything, if you just have to filter the data basis on certain column variable, then also this video is going to be helpful for you. Thank you very much for watching.